What's going on, everybody? I hope you are well. Today we're going to be taking a look at Conor McGregor and his hair loss over the years. Now, looks to me like he might have had a transplant recently. I want you to follow along on his journey very briefly and tell me what you think. Do you think he got a hair transplant? Do you think that he is taking care of his hair loss? Well, let's find out, shall we? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go all the way back to 2013 and when Conor McGregor started to make his entrance into the public sphere and just very slowly progress through the years to where we are today, and some of the posts that we've seen from Instagram, some news articles, things like that, try to make a deduction. So starting in 2013, Conor McGregor signed a multi-fight contract with UFC, and this is what he looked like back then. So as we can see, he has some Norwood hair loss progression going on, his temples receding and having the corners of his hairline starting to remove. There is a little bit of, this might have been natural. I haven't gone back and looked at Conor McGregor's natural hairline, but we see this slight indentation, which could be some abnormal hair loss, which is common. Let's take a look at this. This is moving to 2014. You can see it still looks pretty much the same. If we look at these images, still got the same thing going on. We do notice that when Conor McGregor grows his hairs out, it's so thick and dense that it does kind of mask some of the hair loss that he has going on. Now here's another example, and of course this is also partially due to the angle, which is coming from down lower, as well as the lighting and the shadow coming from his hair. This is one of the longest that we've seen Conor McGregor's hair at, but we do see, once again, it looks like it's thicker and fuller and like the hairline is better. But if we take a look right here, we can see once again this M pattern forming, which is still indicative that he has this hair loss ongoing. So we're going to move to 2017, and we can see that Conor McGregor has kind of cleaned up his hair. He still has the same thing going. We have absolutely no temple hair going on, and that there is a significant amount of recession going back into this crook, although we're not looking and seeing the opposite side of his hair. But there's definite recession going on, but he still has some pretty good density. So let's watch that to see if that changes over the years or if it actually changes. But in this picture right here, we see that his hair looks like it's getting thinner as opposed to this image right here, much thicker. All right, moving to 2018-2019 era right here, we're gonna take a look at a couple images. So we can see that there's pretty good density right here, but once again, look at this temple region right here, definitely receded, starting to meet up with the hair loss that's occurring right here at the temple region and into his hairline. And we can also see that this hair right here is thinner than what is back in this area. Let's see if we can find another glance right here. So we can see that the hair on top is definitely getting wispier. Once again, if we compare it to this photo right here, much more density, although we can see a little bit of thinning right there, but this is much wispier hair than his natural density. So we can see that there is definitely some significant hair loss going on in this area. Now I want to take us into the past year or so of Conor McGregor's Instagram. That way we can take a look at some pictures and see, have things gotten better? Have they gotten worse? What does it look like is going on? So let's just jump into the first image, which is from June 2021. So this image is a little bit small, I know, but the main thing that I'm looking at, right, is if we look at the dimensions, right, from like his chin to his nose to eyebrows, and then eyebrows to this is definitely significantly larger, showing that his hairline has receded, because generally almost everybody has a natural hairline that is like a third of their entire face. Over here we have 1/3, 2/3, and then 3/3, meaning that it's supposed to be proportional, but his hairline has definitely receded upwards in the past couple years. This is still in June, but another angle. So if we look at this right here, we can see that once again, not much for temples. This normal temple region right here is gone. It's still meeting his hair right here. and just overall less density on top of his head. But it's interesting if we look at this picture, and it was noted by another YouTuber, Matt Dominance. He used this picture as an example, and he zoomed in really far, so I'm going to try to do that. That if we look at this right here, right, we start to see something forming right here, right? Because like naturally his hairline was this action right here. It was going up and then meeting his hair right here. But now it seems like we have a shadow that is, first off, his hairline is a little bit lower on his forehead, but second, his hairline actually meets this temple region right here and comes back around, which is almost like he's reversing his hair loss. Now, if we look at these pictures, this is from January 20th. Ever since then, he's been wearing very short hairstyles, which is a sign of someone who is changing, their hairline and stuff like this. But if we look right here, we start to see this little roundness to his temple region and then coming back up, right? And if we look at this crook right here, it's starting to look shallower, which is a sign of someone getting a hair transplant, because you don't get all of the results at first. Now, he probably had a hair transplant somewhere back in like November, October, when he shaved his hair. This image right here is from November, late November, so it was probably sometime around then. So this is only a couple months after the fact, but we can already see that he's starting to gain some results potentially from that. And then this image is from this month, February. Now, we know when McGregor has his hair down, it starts to mask some of this area, but I'm still seeing this temporal region coming back, which is definitely indicative that there's some action going on. If we look right here, here's another example. So take a look at this right here, right? We got his beard hair and then the shadow of the hairline coming up here and around here. This M area is getting shallower and shallower, which is a sign of a hairline transplant that's been successful and it's progressing. Now, it's definitely still a little bit tough to know for absolute sure whether or not he got a hair transplant. To me, it's pretty clear that he did. It looks like we're really seeing a lot of restoration back into this area of his hairline around the temple, and a little bit less of a a little bit less of recession in the sides of his hairline right here, which is definitely a sign. But I found this really interesting. I found this online. So this right here is an article from 2019, and it says Conor McGregor reckons he can find a cure for male pattern balding as UFC legend weighs up new business venture. And he's basically talking about, in this article, it's an interview, how he has had conversations about how men aren't taking care of their hair, how they could basically prevent losing their hair if they just have taken care of it. And he says, this is something I'm interested in. I'm going to start thinking about how I can get my name on that stuff and make it into a business. So we'll see if that happens. Now, what I think is happening right here. And he says also, my sister's a hairdresser, and listen to this, she's just brought out this exfoliating scrub to help with hair loss. So I actually think that Conor McGregor is making a business move, but he's also just taking care of his hairline. And he's got a transplant. He's actually taking some of these products, and I think he's gearing up to actually create a brand in the hair loss industry space. And with that being said, I think this is just like the first step. I think that we're going to actually see a product. We're going to see Conor McGregor come on the scene and start changing things. It's probably going to look like minoxidil, finasteride. I don't think dutasteride, but that is another clinically proven medication that does work for hair loss. Maybe this exfoliating scrub, it'll be interesting to see if it's just, a sham and he's just selling things, but he's definitely making some changes with his hairline and his hair loss. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think he's actually taking care of his hair loss with a hair transplant? Do you think he's about to make moves into the hair loss space? Think we're going to see a business by Conor McGregor? Let me know.